A cold wind swept across the crowded street market as Amara tightened the oversized scarf around her face. She wasn't hiding from danger, only from being noticed. For months, she had crafted a plan so strange her best friend called it insanity in makeup form. But Amara believed in it. She needed it. If the world saw her for who she truly was, radiant, brilliant, effortlessly magnetic, they would treat her like a prize, not a person. She had lived that life once, and it nearly destroyed her. So she chose a different path. Blend in look plain, even unattractive. A little charcoal under the eyes, an old mismatched wig, thick lenses on fake glasses, and clothes 2 sizes too big. The transformation was complete. She was unrecognizable, or so she thought. That morning, she hurried across the street, head down, arms full of market bags. That's when a sleek obsidian black car slowed beside her, far too expensive for the busy neighborhood. Something about its presence shifted the air. The tinted window slid down just an inch, just enough for someone inside to look out. And he did. A pair of piercing gray eyes, sharp, alert, almost searching, locked onto her. She froze. Why was a billionaire's car rolling through this part of town at 7 a.m.? And more importantly, why was he staring at her as if she were the only person on the street? Inside the car, Liam Thorne, the youngest CEO the city had ever known, leaned forward. His driver whispered something, but Liam ignored him. His gaze didn't waver. "That woman," he said quietly. Stopped the car. Panic jolted through Amara. She clutched her bags tighter and stepped faster, weaving through the crowd. But his window lowered further, and something in his expression made her heartbeat thunder in her ears. Recognition. Real, unsettling recognition. No, impossible. No one had seen through this disguise. No one ever had. But Liam Thorne wasn't just anyone. Amara ducked into a side alley, pressing her back against the wall. She sucked in a breath, hoping he'd lose sight of her. But a familiar voice, deeper now, sharper with disbelief, echoed between the brick walls. Amara? Her stomach dropped. He knew. Liam stepped out of the car, confusion and relief battling across his face as he approached the narrow alley. He looked like a man who'd seen a ghost, a man who had searched far too long for someone who never wanted to be found. "Why are you hiding like this?" he asked softly. "After everything, after disappearing without a word, why look like you're running from yourself?" Her disguise suddenly felt ridiculous, flimsy, childish. But she didn't move. She didn't speak. She couldn't, because Liam wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to care. He wasn't supposed to see her. Not the version she buried 2 years ago. And certainly not this one. "Amara," he said again, stepping closer. "Tell me why you left." A shadow of old pain flickered through her, memories she fought hard to erase tightening around her chest like chains. She squeezed her eyes shut, but the tears still burned. Liam reached out as if he wanted to touch her, but stopped himself, fingers trembling midair. "You don't need to be afraid of me," he whispered. "I never stopped." But a loud crash erupted at the end of the alley. Amara flinched. Liam instantly shifted, protective instincts kicking in, but she saw her chance. She bolted. Through the alley, across the street, into the maze of mourning crowds. "Amara!" he shouted behind her, footsteps pounding. Her disguise was supposed to make her invisible, but now it felt like his eyes could cut straight through it. Straight through her, no matter how far she ran. And deep down, she feared something more than being found. She feared that if he caught her, she might finally have to face the truth she'd buried about him, about herself, and about the real reason she vanished without goodbye. Amara's lungs burned as she pushed through the sea of people. Her heart beat a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Morning vendors shouted prices. Children weaved between fruit stands, but all she could hear was the echo of Liam's voice cutting through the noise. She didn't dare look back. Her disguise was slipping, her scarf half loosened, her glasses crooked, her wig tilting dangerously. If anyone stared, she didn't notice. She could only think of the moment his eyes met hers through that car window, how they widened, how something like hope flickered inside them. Hope she wasn't ready to confront. Not after everything she'd lost. A bus was just pulling away from the curb. Without thinking, Amara lunged for it, grabbing the railing and hauling herself inside before the doors squeaked shut. She stumbled down the aisle, gripping a pole as the bus jerked forward. Only then did she allow herself a glance through the fog window. Liam stood on the sidewalk, breathless, scanning the street like a man possessed. People flowed around him, but he didn't move, didn't blink, didn't try to return to his car. He just stared after the bus, jaw tight, eyes stormy. He knew she was inside. She jerked the curtain closed and sank into the cracked vinyl seat, hands trembling. 2 years. 2 years she'd built a life far from him, far from the suffocating glitter of his world. She had blended in, washed away the shine of who she used to be. She'd found jobs that paid in coins and exhaustion, slept in small rooms that didn't echo with loneliness the way his mansion did. 2 years convincing herself leaving was the right choice. So why did seeing him again send her entire chest spiraling into chaos? The bus groaned to a halt at the next station. Amara took the chance and slipped out with the crowd, ducking into another labyrinth of streets. Her apartment was 10 minutes away, 10 minutes from safety, from silence, from the past she had just barely outrun. But when she turned the corner, she froze. A familiar black car sat parked in front of her building. Her heart stopped. No, he couldn't have known. He couldn't have followed the bus. Liam stepped out of the car, and the world shrank to the space between them. "I guess you'd come home," he said, voice low, not out of triumph but out of exhaustion. "You always run in circles when you're scared." Her breath hitched. She hated that he remembered things like that, hated that he still knew her patterns, things she thought she'd erased. "How did you—" she began. "Your bus pass." He nodded toward her pocket. "It hangs from your coat. I've seen you wear that coat before." She cursed under her breath. She should have removed it that morning. Liam stepped closer, but carefully, like he feared spooking her again. "Amara, I just want to talk." She backed up until her shoulders brushed the cool brick of her building. "Don't!" His brows knit with pain. Not anger, not frustration, but something far more dangerous. Vulnerability. "Don't what?" he asked. "Don't act like any of this matters anymore," she whispered. "You shouldn't even be here." He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Maybe not, but I couldn't pretend you were gone forever. Not when I saw you today. Not when I realized how close you've been." Close. The word felt like a wound. She swallowed hard. "You weren't supposed to see me." "Yes," he admitted softly. "I gathered that." A silence fell between them, filled with unspoken memories neither dared touch. Their last night together. The shattered trust. The message she never sent. The truth she never explained. She squeezed her eyes shut. "Liam, please, just let me go." He shook his head slowly. "I can't. Not like this. I need to understand why you left." Her throat tightened. If she spoke, the truth would spill out. And she wasn't ready. Not yet. Not with him staring at her like she was the last missing piece of life he desperately wanted back. But Liam had always been perceptive. He watched her tremble, watched the way her hand hovered near her scarf as if she wished she could disappear into it. His voice gentled. "Come upstairs. Just for a minute. I won't push. I won't demand. I just want to know you're all right." A bitter laugh escaped her. "All right? Look at me." "I am," he said. "And the makeup doesn't fool me." Her heart jolted. He knew. "I recognized your walk before I saw your face," he continued, "and the way you carry your left shoulder when you're tired, and how you look at the ground, not because you want to stay hidden, but because you're thinking too much." Her chest felt like it might collapse. They stood in the street, the morning sun casting long shadows behind them. A vendor argued with a customer nearby. A motorcycle zipped past, but the world seemed to blur around a single truth pressing between them. He had never stopped seeing her, even when she thought she had erased herself from his world. Amara's voice cracked. "You weren't supposed to—" "Find you?" Liam finished softly. "Maybe not, but I'm here now." She turned her face away from him. The urge to run returned, sharp and terrifying, but her legs refused to move. She was tired, tired of hiding, tired of lying to herself. "Why did you come to this neighborhood anyway?" she asked quietly, changing the subject. He hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then said, "A meeting." "A meeting?" She met his eyes. "Here." "Yes." He was lying. Liam Thorne did not hold meetings in worn-down markets or narrow alleys, and she saw the truth flicker in his expression before he masked it. He had been looking for her. Maybe not consciously, maybe not intentionally, but he had been searching, drifting through parts of the city he never visited, following the faintest echo of who she used to be. A slow ache spread through her chest. He stepped closer, his voice almost a whisper. "If I tell you the truth, will you stop running?" She didn't answer. Liam took that as permission. "I came here because someone told me they'd seen a woman who looked like you. Not exactly you, but your eyes, your posture. I didn't believe it. I couldn't. But something made me drive here anyway." Her breath caught. "So when I saw you," he continued, "it felt like finally breathing after years underwater." Her eyes stung. "Let me talk to you," he said again, softened the first time. "Just talk." She turned toward the entrance of her building. The staircase loomed in the dim hallway. Safety waited at the top, but so did the past. Amara stood there, torn between two worlds. Then very slowly, she pushed open the door. Liam followed without a word, closing it gently behind them as they stepped into the narrow corridor. And for the first time in 2 years, the distance between them began to close, one fragile step at a time. Amara moved up the narrow staircase with slow, uncertain steps, the kind that carried more memories than footsteps. Her apartment wasn't far, just 3 flights up, but each step felt like walking through the years she'd spent running from everything she feared she still wanted. Liam followed behind her, keeping a careful distance. She could hear his breathing, controlled, steady, but undeniably anxious. A billionaire who commanded boardrooms and international empires, nervous in a dim stairwell. Because of her, the thought made her chest tighten. When they reached her floor, Amara hesitated. Her hand hovered over the doorknob. "This isn't a good idea," she whispered. "It's the only honest thing we've done in 2 years," Liam replied gently. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked the door. The apartment was small, much smaller than anything Liam was used to. A single room divided by curtains, a cracked window patched with tape, a kettle that hissed when it boiled, and a couch that dipped in the middle. But it was hers, her sanctuary, her hiding place. She stepped inside. Liam remained at the threshold for a moment, almost reverent, as if he understood the weight of being invited into her private world. Then he entered quietly and closed the door. Amara removed her scarf first, then her glasses, then the wig. She placed each disguised piece on the table, her heartbeat rattling like a trapped bird. Liam watched her with something more profound than curiosity. He watched with sorrow, with relief, with the kind of tenderness she once feared could break her. "You've been living like this?" he asked softly. She nodded, peacefully. "You call this peace?" His voice cracked. "Amara, why would you leave your life behind just to suffer alone?" She turned away. "Because my life with you was built on a lie." He froze. "A lie." She clenched her fists. This was the moment she had avoided for 2 years, the moment truth would tear through the silence she'd been hiding behind. "The night I disappeared," she said, "I overheard your father talking. He said I was ruining your image, that your investors didn't trust your judgment because you were with someone like me, that you were losing deals because they didn't consider me the right fit." Liam closed his eyes, pain twisting across his features. He said, Amara continued, her voice shaking, "that being with me made you look weak, that he'd never accept me as a part of your future. And when he realized I heard him, he threatened me, told me to leave you quietly or he'd destroy everything you'd ever worked for. He said he'd take your company, your legacy, your name." Liam inhaled sharply, gripping the back of the chair as if he might break it. "You should have told me," he whispered. "I couldn't." Her voice broke. "He said you would choose your empire over me. And I believed him." Silence swelled, thick and suffocating. "I left," she said, wiping her eyes, "because I thought loving you meant destroying you. And because every time I looked at my reflection, all I saw was a woman the world said wasn't worthy of a man like you. Liam took a step toward her, slow and careful. You believed him, he said quietly. You believed a man who never cared about anything but power over me, over us. He was your father. He was wrong, Liam said. And I spent 2 years trying to prove he didn't control my life anymore. Amara's breath trembled. What do you mean? Liam exhaled, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You left the night. I planned to ask you to move in with me. The ring was already in my pocket. Amara, I was going to propose within the month. She stumbled backward, her hand gripping the edge of the table. You what? I told my father the next morning, Liam continued, his voice firm. Told him you were the woman I chose. Not as a convenience, not for appearance, but because I loved you. And I told him if he ever spoke to you again the way he did, he'd lose me forever. Amara's breath caught. Her heart felt like it cracked open in her chest. I didn't know, she whispered. You didn't give me a chance to tell you. His voice broke. I woke up and you were gone. No note, no message, no trace. I thought something terrible happened. I called every hospital, every friend, every place you ever loved. I filed a missing person report. I hired private investigators. And every day, without you, felt like slowly going blind. She pressed her hand to her mouth as tears blurred her vision. You weren't supposed to waste your life looking for me, she choked. I didn't waste anything, he said. The only wasted thing was the years we could have spent together while you were hiding from a truth that wasn't even true. Amara sank onto the couch, trembling. The room felt too small, too quiet, too full of everything she had tried to forget. Liam kneeled in front of her, not as a billionaire, not as a CEO, but as a man stripped of every wall. I didn't care about the deals I lost, he said softly. I cared about losing you. Her tears fell freely. I came to the market this morning, he continued, because someone said they'd seen a woman who looked like she was pretending not to be beautiful. And when they said that, I knew it had to be you. She laughed a broken, breathless laugh. I really thought I could hide. You can't hide your soul, he said, and yours has always been the brightest thing in any room. Her chest tightened painfully. She wanted to look away from him, but his eyes pulled her in, tender, raw, unshielded. I don't care who my father is, Liam whispered. I don't care what the world thinks. I don't care about appearances or deals or shareholders. I care about you. I always have. He reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, he brushed a tear from her cheek with trembling fingers. I'm here, he murmured, and I'm not leaving unless you tell me to. Amara closed her eyes. The weight of her pain, her fear, her guilt, all of it rose like a tide threatening to drown her. But beneath it was something else. Something she had buried for far too long. The truth. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Those words shattered something in him. His eyes closed, his shoulders shaking with a breath he had held for 2 years. Amara? She leaned into his touch, the familiarity of it both healing and breaking her at once. But I'm scared, she confessed. Scared that if I let you back in, I'll lose myself again. You won't, he said, voice trembling. We'll build something new, something stronger. And this time, no one will take you from me. Amara lifted her gaze and met his eyes fully, without disguise, without fear, without running. The space between them shifted. Slowly, as if pulled by a force older than both of them, Liam cupped her face in his hands. She didn't flinch, didn't hide, didn't pull back. Their foreheads touched. A soft, fragile breath slipped between them. Come home, he whispered. Come back to where you were always meant to be. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with awakening. Amara closed her eyes and breathed him in, his warmth, his sincerity, the grief and hope wrapped around his voice. And for the first time in 2 years, she allowed herself to imagine a life where love didn't mean loss, where she didn't have to make herself small to survive, where she could stand beside him as an equal, not a shadow. Her lips parted as she exhaled the last of her fear. And just as she was about to speak, the door to her apartment trembled with a sudden, sharp knock that made both of them jolt. and everything changed in an instant.